Okay, I know that we're going to have some students joining us and trickling in over the next few minutes, but I always say we promise that we're going to start at 5:30, so we're going to start at 5:30. Firstly, and the most important thing is thank you so much to all of the students who've joined us today. We're continuously impressed by students who are showing up and using time after school, particularly when at the moment you're doing everything online as well, to just learn a little bit more, get a bit more insight and hear from some experts about some opportunities that are out there. So that's exactly what you're going to get from today, but just well done for joining. We're impressed and you're already one step of the way there. My name's Ellie from Pathway CTM. I'm not sure, a few of you might recognise me from some other sessions that we've done, but we're here really to kind of support you throughout the day. So you've got Ellie here and Nick. I don't know if you want to say hello from our side.
Yeah, I'll really quickly introduce myself. Yeah, I'm Nick from Pathway, so I work alongside Ellie and the team there. I'll probably see half of you in a breakout room in a little while, but hopefully you won't be hearing too much from me and mostly from our two panelists from IBM.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll hand over and let you introduce yourselves in a second, the actual experts, so don't worry, and not too much of Nick and I talking today. But students, just quickly, I'm sure most of you are better at using these platforms than we are now, but I just wanted to make sure you're all fully comfortable with how to communicate with us today. So I have popped everyone on mute as they've joined, so I would, if possible, please do remain on mute just for the beginning of this session. What we're going to do is we're going to kick off and hear from the experts, and I'm going to hand over to Ritu in a second. But any questions you might have, then do just pop them in the chat box. Nikita, I know you said hello. Can just a couple of other students just say hello or hi to me in there, just so I know, and I'm confident that you guys know it is. Great, Aaron, hi. Nice to see you, and we'll always remember the names of the first few students who put a hello in there. So well done for doing that. Hi, they're coming through now, that's great. What will happen is I'm going to hand over for the beginning of this session, and we're going to have a top line overview of IBM and some great things there. And then we're going to go into breakout rooms. And what that means is I'll be allocating you, and I'll be splitting you up and opening the rooms for you. But if you have any questions at all, then I'm here, Nick's here, and we can really help support you with any technical kind of questions you have there. But really, all you'll need to do is listen up, stay on mute for now, and then accept your invite into the breakout room at a later stage in the session. But we're here if you need anything else at all. So do ask any questions. I love the fact that I've already seen lots of hellos and highs in the chat box, so we've definitely got the right people on the line. But really, enough from me then, and over to you, Ritu, if that's okay.
Cool, thank you so much, Ellie. So hi everyone, hope you're all doing well and staying safe. My name is Ritu Raj, and I'm currently on my placement year here at IBM, which basically means I have done 2 years of university, have taken a year out to work at IBM, and then we'll be going back from September to do my final year. So a bit of a background, I go to the University of Bath and I do politics with economics, and I'm doing a marketing internship. So a little bit different, but that just shows you that doesn't really matter if you're not sure what you're going to do, and it'll all work out in the end. So before I continue, I want to pass on to Kamal to introduce himself.
Thanks, Ritu. So everyone, my name's Kamal. I am a current degree apprentice at IBM. I was a regular apprentice, which I graduated from. I am under the Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship pathway, which involves me learning with Manchester Met Uni, actually. Unfortunately, can't go in yet, but hoping to go in soon. But bit of background on me and IBM. I've been with IBM for about 3 years now, and just thinking of progressing my career forward as much as I can.
Cool, thank you so much. So who are we? So IBM, we're a global technology and innovation company headquartered in New York. We're the largest technology employer in the world, so we employ over 366,000 IBMers, and they're serving all across the world in 170 countries. In 2017, we generated $79.1 billion in revenue. We invest more than $6 billion in a year in R&D. All these numbers, I can't even say them, there's so much going on. And just completed our 25th year of patent leadership, and we live in the intersection between business and technology. So what does IBM look like in the UK? So as you can see, we have a number of main offices in the UK and Ireland, as well as dedicated client innovation sites and lab campuses all across the British Isles. As all of this adds up to a company that is one of the largest technology employers in the country. And although we're more focused on the future than the past, it really is a testament to how important IBM is to the UK, as we've been here for over 100 years. So I just want to pass on to Kamal now, just to talk through the opportunities that we have.
So the the opportunities that IBM offer can pretty much be summarized into these 4 key areas, being apprenticeships, gap year, traveling, and university. Now, traveling is a bit of a broad one because it's on the basis of, in a COVID-free world, traveling is a major opportunity with IBM in terms of whether you're doing a degree apprenticeship and traveling to uni, or traveling across the country or maybe even the world when you're working on client projects with IBM. But in terms of the actual, let's say, school leaver-based opportunities we provide, they are pretty much summarized down into apprenticeships, gap year, and university-based ones. Go to the next slide, Ritu. So in terms of the schemes that we offer, the Future Gap Year scheme is one of them, the apprenticeship schemes, and pretty much in terms of what we actually offer, we'll now go into Ritu. Thanks. So the Futures Gap Year scheme, in its name, is basically a scheme we offer to students who are pretty much unsure of what they want to get into, what they want to start. Do they want to go to university? Maybe they're not, feeling the need to continue in education just yet. They want to try and experience other things, maybe gain some experience in the field or the industry. So this is a scheme that we offer to potential students and potential applicants. It's a 12-month scheme. It's about 18K as a starting salary, and you'll be put onto a challenging work placement, which means you'll be put on the regular client-based initiatives that we, us regular IBM employees, will be put into, and given the same amount of responsibility, same amount of experience, and same amount of learning that maybe even an apprentice would get within a span of a year, so that you could then confidently progress onto maybe the world of work, maybe even into university, or progress onto an apprenticeship, which I'll discuss next. So the apprenticeship scheme can pretty much be summarized down into roughly 3 areas. So the level 3 advanced apprenticeships, the level 4 higher, and the level 6 degree apprenticeships. Now, degree apprenticeships are typically what school leavers like to hear from us, because as is sold by other companies, it's an opportunity where you can get a degree while also working for a company and not pay a penny for the degree, you will not need to pay the typical $9,000, maybe more, I don't know how much it is anymore, university course cost, as the company that you work for will provide that for you, while also doing an apprenticeship in line, which means basically studying while you work with the company full-time-ish. You will be taken on to a potential 3 to 4 year scheme. Some schemes that are available are fast-track schemes, like the one that I'm on, so it may be roughly 2.5 to maybe 3 years. The starting salary will be at 20,000, and you will get an immense amount of networking possibilities, exposure, experience into the industry hands-on, because you'll be learning concepts such as project management, operations, business operations, and then being able to apply that to the current world of work that you're in, whether you're on a specific type of client or industry, or maybe even doing something internally within IBM. And I'll now pass back to Ritu to explain some hints and tips into the typical IBM assessment center.
Cool, thank you so much. So yeah, the next portion, we're just going to talk a bit about the assessment center. So what's your application process like? So the first thing you'll basically do is a basic application form, just your details, nothing that you have to worry about, will take about 10 minutes. And then after that, we'll do the online testing. So this is probably a cognitive test. So it's just going to be some games, memory games, etc., depending on what you're exactly applying for. And then after that, we have, if you pass the online testing, you have the competency-based application form. I'll go into that a little bit later on when we talk about like the competencies and 8 core competencies that IBM has. But it's basically where you demonstrate, where you've shown different competencies such as drive, passion, etc. But we'll go into that a little bit later. And then after that, what happens is all of the information that you've filled in goes into a manager review. So there's nothing that you have to do. The hiring managers at IBM will have a look at your application, and then you'll be told if you are passed on to the assessment center. And then after the assessment center, IBM is a little bit unique. So after you pass the assessment center, it doesn't mean that you exactly are going to get an offer at IBM. So what happens is you go into the matching process. So if you pass the assessment center, your CV and your application form will go into a huge pool with everyone else who has passed the assessment center. And then you'll have another interview with specific teams. So you're not just going to be a marketing intern, you'll be in a particular team. So I'm in a talent marketing team, which is something quite unique at IBM. So to go into it a little bit further, the assessment center. Of course, at the moment, because we're not doing in-person assessment centers, or this slightly is varied now, but the same principle still applies. So you'll be invited, if hopefully, to a day in one of our offices or to a WebEx meeting, which is not as exciting, but it's a pandemic. So this would be a half-a-day session or a full-day session. And you'll be assessed along with other candidates. So still, if it was over WebEx, you will be assessed along with other candidates. But as I said before, you're not going to be competing against them, because after assessment center, IBM can pick everyone or no one. So don't have to worry about being better than the person next to you. It's just what you demonstrate, which is really important. So the group activity. This could be a discussion, it could be logical problem solving, or etc. So you could have a specific topic that they give you, such as AI, and you'll be in groups of maybe 3, and you just have to discuss the pros and cons of AI as an example. Or it could be where you decide certain things, which we'll go into a little bit later on, like which is your activity for the day. And then the final thing is where an interviewer will assess you, and it's your presentation and interview. So you'll probably be given a prepared topic, and you do the presentation in front of an interviewer, and you may have a business interview on that day, which is the matching process interview, which is an interview done by a specific team. I know that's a lot of information all at once. So if you do have any questions, please pop it into the chat. Okay, so what do we look for at an assessment center, and what are some hints and tips? So you're going to be, you think about what you're being perceived at during the task, because you don't really want to be overpowering anyone. Make sure that you're definitely giving your inputs, so you're not too quiet, but also make sure that you're not the only person talking in your group. So encourage other candidates to participate. Make sure you keep track on the discussion. It's very, very easy to digress. I am one of those people that easily will go into a different topic. So if you're talking about AI, it's great to bring in other different topics, such as like healthcare, but as soon as you start talking about fields and meadows, you're wrong. You're going off the wrong track. So just make sure you're keeping the discussion on track. Try to reach an agreed decision by the end of the time. So don't kind of keep it up in the air. Just make sure that when you have maybe like 2 minutes left, you focus on what you're going to present back and what you're going to tell the interviews at the end. And you're also being assessed on your performance and not the answer. So a lot of these questions, a lot of the discussion topics, they're not looking for a specific outcome at the end of it. They're assessing on you on how much you've prepared and how much you know about IBM and how you react and how you work in a team. And so along those lines, quality is way better than quantity, and make sure your group stays in time. That's such a key tip that I always think about at assessment centers. Just make sure if you're the person that's like, okay, we have 5 minutes left, we have 1 minute left, the interviewers already know that you're someone that keeps track of time, which is really important in the workplace. So these are the 8 key competencies that I was talking about a little bit earlier on. So creative problem solving, adaptability, teamwork, communication, drive to achieve, client focus, passion for the business, leadership, and ability to take ownership. So once you get your assessment centre offer, these are the 8 things that I would really push for you to look into when you're preparing for your assessment centre. And if you base your presentation or any of your answers around this, they will immediately know that you've taken some interest in the company and that you've researched a little bit, and it's already you're one step ahead of other people. And when you're demonstrating this, it doesn't have to be anything big. It doesn't have to be being the captain of a team or winning first prize in since the age of 5. Like, that doesn't really matter. It can be the smallest thing. So let's say you have a part-time job, and for example, if you're waitressing on the weekends, and you've had like one situation during your time when you're working there when maybe you're left alone, that could easily fall into one of these things. So it can be absolutely anything. Don't think big. It can be just one of the smallest things, as long as you're showing this in one way or the other, and the more unique the better as well. You'll be completely fine. So before we go into the group exercise, I wanted to ask Kamal if he has anything to add, any hints or tips to assessment centre. So right, if you don't.
I think the biggest one I can have is in terms of your application form and responses to any sort of competency-based question. All I can say is, of course, be honest, as you know, as everyone would say, be honest to the responses you give, because in the interview or anything, they may bring that up to get further information, but also be confident in the response you give. It may not be a part-time work experience based example. It may be some sort of enrichment based example, or small community team leadership kind of example, or even some volunteering. Whatever example you give, be confident with that, explain it to the best detail you can in terms of in line with one of those competencies, because IBM are not just looking for you to have done work before to be able to match these competencies. Any sort of experience you've gained is pretty much acceptable against these 8 competencies.
Great, thank you so much. So now we're going to go into the breakout rooms and practice this a little bit. So we have an exercise for you, which I'll just stop sharing my screen and just talk through, but this will also be shared in the breakout rooms. So this exercise is called Moon Journey. So you're a member of a space crew originally intended to meet up with the mothership on the lighted surface of the moon. Due to a mechanical problem, your craft was forced to land at a spot 200 miles from the planned meeting point. During the forced landing, much of the equipment on board was damaged. As your survival depends on your reach to the mothership, the most critical items still available to you need to be selected for the 200-mile journey, and which will take approximately 3 Earth days. And so you're going to have basically a list of items, and you need to rank them from 1 to 5, if I'm not wrong, as to which one you think is the most important to keep and which one you think is the least important to keep. So don't worry about remembering anything I said. Everything will be shown again. But yes, I'll pass over to Ellie to...
Yeah, amazing. Thanks, Ritu. And that's a good overview of what the task is to come. I'm sure quite a few of you will have used breakout rooms before, but I'm just really quickly going to talk through that, talk through timing, and then also when you get into the breakout room, you will have that text in front of you, so don't worry. You don't have to remember it, like Ritu said. So we're going to have 2 breakout rooms. We're going to have me and one from a pathway side and Nick and one from a pathway side, and then we're going to have Ritu and Kamal also in the 2 rooms. So what will happen is I'm going to open those rooms in a minute or so, and you'll get a notification pop up which asks you to join that particular breakout room. If you're struggling to get in for any reason, then I'll get a notification, don't worry, but you'll be popped into a room. We'll have about 10 minutes and we'll work together and have that task up in front of us, and then yeah, see if we can come to a collective answer to name the top 5, and then someone from each room will be coming back and presenting what they've come up with. So I'm just going to open up those rooms now, and everyone should have had that pop up for them, and we'll see you all in the rooms. Hi everyone, welcome back to the room. I know people are kind of filtering through. So we'll just wait for everyone to rejoin. Nick, is that everyone from your room back? Let's just see. Great. So it looks like we've got some speakers who are coming back in from our rooms, which is great. Nick, how did you get on in your room?
Yeah, really good. Had some a lot of messages in the text box, and had quite a few of the participants who spoke up as well, and were making some really good points. I think actually thinking deeper into it, asking questions around the task itself, really intricate questions. So I think we've got a list. So yeah, no, it's really good.
Great. I'm going to ask the speakers to speak in a second and give us their feedback. But Kamal, how did you find our room? I know we had some discussions there, didn't we?
Yeah, we had quite a few discussions, quite a few from various different people. It did start off slow, which is expected. But then right towards the end, I'd say it picked up. We got the ideas through a bit of hints and tips to help kind of like get the thought process in terms of, if we pick one, what about if this potential situation happens? So it got quite interesting at the end.
Yeah, I thought the same. So Nick, from your room, it looks like Aslam's presenting, is it? He's written in the chat box.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's unmuted now, I think. Yeah, go for it.
So for the first one, so what we did at first, we removed the ones that wasn't useful on the moon, and we found out what one was the most useful. So the first one we went with was oxygen, because without oxygen we can't breathe and we can't live. So that, I think, was the most important point for all of us. And then the second one was the gallons of water, because without water we can't live as well. So that was our second one. The third one was the food concentration. Obviously you can't live without food for too long, so I think that was a very important one as well. And then the fourth one was the map, so we could know how to get back to the spaceship and how to like know our location and where we are. And we removed the compass because someone in our group said that it can't be used inside the moon because of gravity. And then the last one we picked was the roll, nylon roll, so we could know like where we are, and we could know our way and how to get back. So yeah, that's our top 5.
Amazing. Thank you so much for presenting that back and talking through your thought process. Ritu, I know you were kind of sat in there and having a listen into the conversations. What did you think in terms of how they work together, and just thinking about that from an assessment centre potentially side?
I think it was very good in terms of it picked up basically straight away, which we don't see very often, which I was quite impressed by. And both, like Nick said, in the chat as well as people coming off mute. So there wasn't really a quiet moment, which was very good for, especially when you're doing it online and everything is everyone's a little bit more hesitant to say their opinion. So yeah, it was some great discussions, some great points, and yeah, all in all, very happy.
Brilliant. That's great feedback. And Hamida, over to you now. I know you're presenting from our side.
Yeah, so our group basically said the exact same things apart from the last one. So we also came to the agreement that oxygen and water were the 2 most important ones. So we did go between those 2 a bit. We came to the conclusion that oxygen was the most important because in space, obviously, if you don't have oxygen, that's it, you're dead. And if you're dead, you can't do anything. So yeah, that was our number 1. Number 2 was water. Water over food as well is important because you can survive without food for around, I don't actually know the stats, but I think it's around 3 days. Whereas water, you need within 3 days. And then for number 3, we said that it would be the stellar map, because we're told in the information that they landed 200 miles out from the mothership, but they don't know where the mothership is exactly. So in order to locate that, they would need a map. Number 4, so number 4 was the foods, just so that they can keep their energy and keep going. And then number 5 was the first aid kit. So we said because they've had a crash, there might be some injuries. So if anyone's lacking energy, or if anyone's not able to travel that 200 miles, they would probably have to sort that out before they continue.
Yeah, that's interesting. So our last point was, I think the conversation was with first aid or the nylon roll. So that's interesting. It almost came to the exact same conclusion there.
Yeah, and well presented, Amida. I think from feedback from our room, I also was just really impressed by a couple of kind of conversations, and Reese, I was very impressed when you said that you liked someone else's point of view and things like that, and just taking into consideration that discussion. I think that's really important. And I know that Reese went through earlier in terms of the assessment centre process, and I know that there are so many different roles to play, aren't there, in the assessment centre process, and I think I was really impressed by that and that kind of discussion. So well done in terms of your room. I know that we're going to talk about that was to give a bit of an idea in terms of what an assessment centre task could look like, the kind of conversations, and Kamal, you mentioned it just then, but I just wonder how do you find that experience, and what were you kind of thinking when you were seeing the discussion of the students, and maybe some top tips of those ones even in our room that were going through that process?
In terms of the room that I was in, it did start off a bit slow. It was a bit quiet, but that's expected. You know, new faces in a room just put together to work together. But it pretty much picked up after a couple of minutes, because everyone understood that, you know, it's a discussion task. Probably Rita's tip of just it doesn't matter if you don't come to an answer. It's pretty much a discussion, and that's what kind of became the driving force, because we noticed people were kind of talking to each other, going off of each other's points. They were supporting each other's points, and then also kind of debating each other's points, which is what we want to see. We want to see, you know, who can lead the conversations, who can lead the task, who can time manage, who can contradict someone's point and provide an even stronger point, or even support it. So it kind of taps into all of the competencies, as well as the typical, you could say, kind of team working based kind of hot skills that any sort of company would look for.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, and that's really good advice. Ritu, if you're happy, I might just open the floor up to some questions from the students now, before moving into those final kind of couple of slides about the apprenticeship role opening and things like that. So I wonder, do any of the students, and please do write in the chat box rather than unmuting yourself, would it be all right if you popped into the chat box any questions you might have for our IBM specialists on the line, and then we'll make sure to get to those questions just in the last kind of section of today. They're already coming in, Reese, and well done. I know I called you out for your impressive contribution in that side of things. So, but before doing so, we've been through top tips, we've been through the application process, which is really great. In terms of the apprenticeship side of things, that's just a question that I had. So what, in terms of being an apprentice at IBM, how is that seen in terms of kind of, we're often asked by students, apprentices, graduates, what does that apprenticeship world look like? I guess maybe one for you, Ritu, in terms of, I know you're in your sandwich year, but just in terms of what a life is like, I guess, as an apprentice.
Okay, yeah, so I'm currently in my sandwich year, so in my placement year. So I think Kamal can go into a little bit more detail of the life of an apprentice, but as an intern, as an apprentice, as a graduate, we all have very similar like activities, and like we have like BRG, so business resource groups, and different social activities that we share because we're all early professional hires. So in terms of like the social side of things and everything, we're clubbed together, but as it for like a day-to-day, what life as an apprentice is like, I think Kamal will probably have a little bit more insights into that.
just realised I was on mute. In terms of daily life of an apprentice, going on your point earlier about difference between apprentices, difference between grads, I'd say the biggest difference is the fact that the grad has come in from actually completing a degree. The responsibilities, the workload, the opportunities, the experiences, all pretty much identically the same. There's no sort of like deviation between the two at all. In terms of daily life, I don't like the question because it's hard to explain, because when it comes to IBM, depending on the client you're working with, depending on the kind of job you're doing, it could vary pretty much from day to day. So you could be on a client-based project, so you'll probably be at their office, or as of right now at home, working on their projects, their work, or their kind of responsibilities. But then you may also be doing something internally within IBM, so you'll probably be either more busier or slightly more relaxed. So the day-to-day can differ, but of course with the apprenticeship or degree apprenticeship, it's also that that whole work-life balance as well. So the work-life balance in general, but also that balance between your working responsibilities and your apprenticeship responsibilities, which IBM fully understand, in terms of they understand you've come in as I think what they like to call early professional within the company. So you do have these learning responsibilities and commitments alongside your work commitments. So any sort of time you need, it is off given. Any sort of like study periods you need, or let's say time you need towards an assignment or something, they understand and they are more than open to allow you to do it. So it is quite relaxed in a way.
Well, thanks for that. We've got some questions coming into the chat box now, which is brilliant. So thanks very much for all of those, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. So first and foremost, as you've mentioned it there, and working from home at the minute. First question, I guess, to either of you or both of you is, how has working from home changed your usual type of work day? Has that impacted it at all?
I want to say it got busier, but it kind of like balanced in between. At the start, it did, because in the kind of NDA style client work I'm doing that I can't really say, everything picked up. So we had to, kind of help the transition for people working from home, server-based stuff, etc. So it did get busy at the start, but for some people, the worry is that, the whole work-life balance has disappeared now, because you're now at home working, where, let's say, the life portion of it would be. I'd say that's not the case, because companies understand, IBM understand, they are relaxing a ton of things. So, if you need a break or some time away, fine. We've got the work from home pledge that everyone pretty much signs up to. So, if you're not, I think one of them was, if you're not camera ready, do not pressurize someone to be on the camera. So pretty much trying to ensure everyone is able to comfortably and peacefully work from home without affecting them in any way. Yeah, Ritu, anything different?
Well, my situation is a little bit different, because working from home is all that I've known. So I started in June. So obviously, because of the pandemic, everything started from being introduced to my team before my start date in June. Everything was online. So it's all I've really known. And I guess there are good days and bad days, as with most things, as with school probably at the moment as well. So I can wake up a little bit closer to 9 o'clock. I'm not going to specify how close to 9 o'clock, but I can wake up very close to 9 o'clock, which is very nice, because otherwise I'd be traveling to Hursley, which is an hour and a half away. So it does help that I can kind of just roll out of the bed, just get ready in the top half, and everything is good. But at the same time, I'm probably on like the most social side, not the best, because of, as an intern, you want to go meet other interns. But what I can say is that IBM are really good at giving you a proper community feel. And there are various like pub quizzes going on, and a lot of activities that you can get involved in. So IBM are doing the best that they can, but obviously it's not the same as going into the office. But I think the important thing to remember is that everyone's in the same situation. It's not like it's just you. So just do the best that you can, and it'll be fine.
That's amazing, thank you. And we've had some other great questions come through, and one of them from Hamida is around A-level results, so how important that is in terms of application. So I know you've been through all the recommendations of looking and going through the application process and top tips, but in terms of grades, is there anything that students need to bear in mind?
I may have glossed over that, that's my bad, but I'd say the only thing that really matters in terms of eligibility requirements is more the GCSEs. So as long as you have 5 of them, grades 4 to 9, in the typical English and maths, that's great. In terms of A levels, all we're looking for is that you've completed 2 years of education, 2 years of higher education. So you've completed the whole college/sixth form aspect of things. In terms of what you study and what you get, that doesn't really matter. The only time something like that matters is more for if you're going straight into the degree apprenticeship, then it's the whole concept of the specific unis we partner with may look for specific UCAS points in terms of what you can bring. But apprenticeship wise, no. You could probably come in with A levels in English, drama, and music, and probably still be a good fit for us.
Perfect. I'm conscious of time because I know that we want to make sure we've got the next steps and we talk about the roles that are opening. But Nick, maybe one more question, do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking of trying to get 3 or 4 questions that are close into one. So we've got recent Christian have said, do IBM offer any summer work experience for year 12 and Christian year 11 students? And just to kind of jump on that bandwagon as well, can you do an internship whilst being at university? And are you able to work part-time as a student? So I know it kind of all fits in. I've thrown a lot of questions at you there, but I wonder if I guess firstly, any summer work experience for year 11 and 12s?
From my understanding, and Ritu, correct me, there isn't in terms of like the typical work experience, there isn't. For the other questions that you answered, well, you asked, what were the other ones again?
So part-time, can you work part-time as a student? And can you do an internship in conjunction with studying?
I'd say part-time is also no, from what I can recall. Yeah, part-time is also no, but in terms of internship, yes, but it's the typical thing of uni placement style internship. So if you've gone to uni and you've added on a placement year to your studies, then that placement year could be with us through the typical application procedure as well.
Yeah, that's great. I think they mentioned it as a placement at uni, so that's great. So thanks very much for answering those.
That's great, and it gives us a good idea in terms of what those other opportunities are. But conscious of time and wanting to make sure to get this message across to those students who are interested, it's about the application opening. Ritu, I don't know if you want to talk about them a bit more rather than me, but just in terms of dates and when that's going live.
Yeah, just a quick one. So the apprenticeship roles are opening on Monday, the 8th of February. The roles go really, really quickly. So I really encourage you to go to the website. I put the link in the chat and go and register your interest. And if you register your interest, you'll get an email from IBM as soon as the roles open, and you can just straight away go and apply. So they probably will fill up by the Monday. So as soon as you get the email, if you're interested in it, go and apply.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And don't worry, if you've joined today's session, we'll update you all on when the roles are open and what those eligibility criteria are, the fact that you've been on today. So thank you so much for joining. It's just the beginning here. We'll be able to kind of help you through all of the steps of the process. In order to do so, I'm just going to kind of pop in the chat box here. A small survey honestly takes less than 2 minutes. I've done it myself before. So just give us a bit of feedback on today's session. I've been really impressed with how kind of engaged students are and talking and getting involved, and I think it's a really good taster of what's to come. But also do bear in mind the fact the apprenticeship roles are open for those in year 13 and kind of ready to apply. So we're here to help you with that journey, and everyone who's joined today, who has asked questions, who's got involved with the task, we're really impressed. Ritu and Kamal, thank you so much for your input today. It's been so great, and also it's just good to kind of interact when we're all working from home and we're all very remote. Being able to do these tasks online is really important and nice for young people. So everyone, make sure you do the survey. Nick and I will hang about just in case you have any questions, and just to give you time to kind of copy and paste that survey link, and we'll all be in touch to kind of support and mentor you through the next steps in order to apply to IBM, and maybe be sitting on the other side of this panel in a few years' time talking about your experiences in the same way that these panelists have. So thank you so much for your time. And we'll just hang on here, but everyone, thank you. Have a lovely evening.
Thanks very
Thanks
much.
everyone. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.